Welcome to another episode of Wild and Well. Today I'm talking to chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner Dr. Shalini Bhat all about gut health and so much more. So, welcome, Dr. Bhat. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. But before we get into it, can you tell us one thing that you did today to take care of or to nourish you personally?
Ooh, that's a good question. Personally, I can't say any. Well, I took like a little small moment before this podcast just to redirect myself. That happened to only be 20 seconds, but I actually went for a walk with my husband and my toddler this morning, which, although that's a family thing, that does fill my cup. So I was very happy to do that.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love the 20 seconds, those little pockets of self-care. They can be an hour, but they can easily be those 20-second moments. I think we can forget that sometimes. So, yeah, I
Big
love
time.
that. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do? I know that you wear lots of hats and you have an amazing business. So, yeah, tell us all about it.
Yeah, my whole origin story of my business, which is my clinic, the Movement Boutique, is from my own personal lived experience of seeking out better and different care that the medical, I guess, model couldn't provide for me. So I started out on my own journey using my own body and my own self, investing in different things and finding what felt best for my body in terms of movement, in terms of internal care, like my gut healing, and in terms of treatment. So my body aches and pains, and I really fell in love with acupuncture and fascial release. So really my clinic is a mixed bag of all four of those things. And I always tell people that they're welcome to come into our clinic at whatever level they're at. Because if you don't move your body regularly, you're going to get massive success by just starting a movement practice. If you don't take care of your fascia and your body, you've got little aches and pains, you're kind of stressed, you're holding neck tension, you're getting headaches, you've got lower back pain, you haven't rehabbed your core after having your baby or realigned your pelvis, then come in for treatment first and let's make you feel better so then you can start moving. Or if you've had your baby and you're like, what the heck? I felt amazing when I was pregnant and now suddenly my gut's a little off and bloated. I can't seem to get my, last 10, 20 pounds off. I am just feeling brain foggy. I have mom brain. Then let's work in functional medicine and let's work you inside out. And let's start with testing and figure out through a holistic lens where your vibrancy went and how to bring it back.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the time we have our own personal journey and that really shapes our career. And it sounds like that's your experience.
Yeah, I'm one of those people, if I'm not obsessed with it at 100%, it's just a zero for me. And I'm, if someone starts telling me, oh, I'm in finance and blah, 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 like my brain just completely shuts off. I have zero interest in it. And for me, because I have a body, experimenting with it was fun for me because, if my knee got busted when I was dancing and I tore my cartilage, I'm like, okay, what feels good? What doesn't feel good? Okay, I'm going to try this therapy. I'm going to try this treatment. What's getting me out of this problem? And I just loved problem solving. I'm a very tactile person, hence treating people with my hands. Yeah, using my body as my vessel helps me understand how to treat people and patients because I've lived through it myself. So I can say empathically and truly, I know exactly what looking bloated like you're 6 months pregnant feels like. I've been there. Here are the 10 different major needle moving strategies that I've used to help myself personally. And now thousands of people in my practice to get out of that, right? Whereas sometimes the medical world, people want to go be an MD because they want to be an MD, but they don't know what's up. And a patient comes and says, here, I have all these nuanced symptoms or these vague symptoms. And the GP, to no fault of their own, just says, I'm not really sure about that. Like, there's not really a specialist to send you to. Or in my case, I grew up with allopathic medicine. My father's a surgeon. I had access to every single specialty. And they were just like, oh, you have IBS. And I'm like, okay, so what do we do about it? And they're just like, oh, well, at least we know you have it now. I'm like, okay, but my living every day is not comfortable. So what are we going to do about this? They're like, at that time, there's a long time ago, well, even before probiotics and digestive enzymes and stuff hit the scene in that world, but which I'm not even sure half the time if they still are there. But there was no really drug or surgery to correct something with a syndrome at the end of it, right? So that was again me exploring with my body. Hey, what can I do here? And experimenting on myself.
Yeah, and a lot of the time in allopathic medicine, they're not even necessarily allowed to experiment with what they prescribe to people, right? The doctors aren't just taking all the different
Totally.
drugs to test it out. That's actually
That's exactly
ethical,
right.
yet.
I think a lot of people don't actually realize that the main drugs that a doctor will prescribe in their practice, to no fault of their own, is probably the loudest pharma reps that are coming and sharing things with them because doctors are overworked, they're burnt out, they're trying to do their very best. And then the pharma rep comes in and says, guess what we've had amazing clinical trials with, and try this on all your patients, and here's some samples, and let's go out for lunch. And it's kind of easier to be like, oh, that sounds great. Okay, I'll start, prescribing that. And to no fault of their own, they think they're doing something amazing. And, we do need medications in certain instances. There's no doubt about it. However, they aren't educated to know the holistic practices and are somewhat divorced from a natural lifestyle, which we all are, but they are also. So if you go into your doctor's meeting and they're having a Diet Coke and a, thing of Oreos, like, and they're giving you a pill, I'm like, like if you're overweight and you're like, demonstrating poor lifestyle habits to me in the moment, how can I understand that you actually understand what health is? And on the other end of the spectrum, if I can't go to you and say, hey, I'd love to be healthier or my healthiest self, or I'd love to feel super vibrant, what's my roadmap to get there, doc? Because here's my health care card. So like, how do I get health? You can't get health at the doctor. They just say, what's your symptom? How can I get you out of a mess, right? So that's another problem.
Is that what differentiates the functional medicine from more allopathic medicine, that you're looking at more optimal health and wellness?
Specifically for me, I work with a lot of women who are suboptimal. And when I say suboptimal, their symptoms are boring to allopathic medicine and they don't have answers. And that's why fatigue is not really something measurable, for example. So you can say, I just don't wake up with energy. That's not quantifiable to anybody, right? Because that doctor doesn't know your baseline, first and foremost. Second of all, not having energy, and to you, that means a 1 out of 10, and someone else saying, I don't have energy, and they're at an 8 out of 10, but they're normally at a 20 out of 10. It's not quantifiable. So that is one that falls through the cracks. Saying bloating, because it's also kind of not quantifiable. That one falls through the cracks. Saying I'm feeling anxious, like just the feeling of anxiousness, also not really quantifiable, which you can attest to, right? Like the diagnosis of anxiety and all anxiety disorders is different from feeling anxious or something in my world where it's just not hitting a clinical mark for that family doctor or GP. So, you're just falling through the cracks. Those are the main types of people that I work with, subclinical symptoms that are too boring for allopathic. And then when they come to me, when we run functional testing, we can see patterns that are off before they might even be off in blood work, for example. And then we can make a roadmap back to care. And a lot of those things are holistic life strategies, and the way that we are meant to live, that again, we live divorced from because we live in a modern world, work, run the rat race, right?
Yeah, our modern day lifestyle makes it really hard for us to be healthy and vital, and it's just so incongruent with like how our DNA is supposed to be, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about gut health. I imagine all these different symptoms that you work with all are impacted by our gut health, but can you tell us some of the basics of gut health? What do we need to know when it comes to gut health?
Yeah, that's such a good question because like how many women even have time to look in the bowl after they do their bowel movement in the morning? If they even do a bowel movement in the morning. I'm a toddler mom, so like, is your kid running in? Are they running out? Do you need to chase after them? Do you have time? Are you running them to something? And I actually, not until I had my son I'm like, oh, I think a lot of my patients have been constipated because there's just no moment in the morning where even if they get that signal that they're going to the washroom, there's just, you get out the door and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't had my bowel movement. And then you're in the car and so on and so forth. And so, yeah, when it comes to evaluating our own gut health, one thing I didn't even realize, I was bloated for so long that I thought it's like a snake eating a rat. Like you eat your food and then it's sitting there like the way a snake looks after it's eaten a rat. You can see it in its stomach. And so that's just what I always thought. I thought everybody experienced it. I didn't really talk about it. I just thought when you eat, that's what happens. And it wasn't until later on that I was like, oh, this isn't normal. Oh, you don't feel like this? And I, was having conversations with people. I also just thought, oh, your stomach just hurts after you eat too much. Like stomach pain is normal after you eat. I'm here to tell you that when you eat, nothing should be painful, nothing should be gassy, nothing should feel bloaty. You shouldn't have to have urgency after you eat. You shouldn't have to run to the washroom after you eat. And these are things we just sometimes have been bucketed into common. So that gets bucketed into normal, and that's not the case. You should be able to eat, you should be able to feel comfortable, and you should be able to, have a bowel movement that is releasing as much as the length and thickness of your forearm in a day, which a lot of people don't realize. So some people might not say, oh, I'm constipated, because they have a bowel movement every day, but the volume is not there, for example. So they actually aren't getting out enough. And technically that would be constipation. Some people don't think they're constipated because it's normal, within quotation marks, for them to go every 3 days. Well, that might be your consistency, but that's not actually normal or optimal for the gut. So in fact, going multiple times a day is actually what's best for the gut. Let's picture a newborn. They eat, they rest, they poop. They eat, they rest, they poop. We really miss that cadence as we get older because we are living a modern lifestyle. We got to go to work. We got to get in the meeting. We got to take the kids to school. There's no time. So we've actually made it so that our body usually releases in the morning, and then for a lot of people, not again for the rest of the day. But it's meant to be, eat something, rest, poop it out. And once I start working with someone and they get that cadence, they're like, oh, I'm pooping more now. I'm like, that's great, because a lot of people don't realize that pooping is detox. That's one of the main ways we detoxify. So when you're pooping, you're actually detoxing. So those are the main things I would encourage people to do, is get to know your bowel habits, get to know how much volume is coming out, know the color, look up the Bristol stool scale online so that you can know if your bowel movements are normal or not. Some people need that morning coffee to get them going. That's not, you shouldn't rely on an external substance to have to go to the washroom. Some people are having a lot of urgency in the morning. I've had patients who are like, oh yeah, I poo multiple times a day. So that's okay. So I'm in that bucket. But I go 3 times, before 10 a.m. And you're like, oh no, that's not optimal either. So if everyone can just think it's a volumes game, you want to make sure you have that volume, and you want to make sure, so length and thickness of the forearm per day. And again, think of eat, rest, and then release. So that's, even if you want to take, for what we talked about at the start of this, some micro time to rest after you eat a meal. Maybe you just sit for 2 minutes, let yourself just have a little digestion, take a few deep breaths before you even start the meal. Those are little things that we can add into our practice in the day that can help with digestion. But yeah, those are the small things with gut health where you can think whether you're on track or not, let's put it that way, or a self-evaluation.
Yeah, that seems like something that we can all do. And I know most of my audience are moms, so we talk about poo, or we're looking at our kids' poo all day long. So to look at our own and evaluate it is not a big step if people aren't doing it already. And what are some symptoms related to poor gut health? Like you're talking about bloating and constipation, but I know that even anxiety, one of the things that is underlying a lot of people's anxiety is poor gut health. Like what else is related to non-optimal gut health?
Yeah, anxiety is a huge one because I actually didn't even notice that I suffered from anxiety until I didn't. because this is the same thing with my bloating, right? I just thought it was normal. I just thought everyone overthought things and everyone was kind of on edge at all times. And like, I didn't even really realize that about myself until I worked on my gut and my anxiety disappeared. And I was like, oh yeah, wait, where is that? Oh yeah. And it's something that if people contact me mostly for gut health, but then in their symptoms, as they're ticking it off when they're coming in, they're like, yeah, I'm also anxious or I have anxiety or something. And it's something that falls off when we work on your gut because of that super powerful gut brain axis. And the gut brain axis is one that we cannot deny exists. The gut is producing 90 to 95% of the body's serotonin in the gut cells themselves. So it's something we really need to be talking about more when it comes to, anxiety and gut brain connection. The other way that it talks is through the vagus nerve, one of the most powerful and longest running nerves of the body. So, and then through the microbes. So we want to make sure the microbes are balanced because our microbes are helping our neurotransmitter secretions. So we need all three of those things in balance. And as you know, sometimes helping anxiety the long way through talk therapy or, other methods like meditation, this and that, it just might not get at the root of what's stimulating that anxiety. And it's very good and very powerful and very needed. But sometimes when I work with people and we just fix their gut within quotation marks of whatever was going on for them, like I've had people, they pass parasites and it's gone like that, like gone. Like it comes out and they're like, oh my gosh, it's gone. And sometimes on the precipice of passing a parasite, that patient is at a 10 out of 10, like, oh my God, like I'm so anxious. I'm so anxious. Like, and they're getting really close to it. And I'm telling you within seconds, release that parasite in that bowel movement. And they are like, oh, I'm 100%. Like that story has been told to me many, many times. That story of like, I've been in therapy for so long and I pass it and like, oh my gosh, it's gone. And it's not to say that those things aren't helpful. It's just on certain people, the root of it is more with what's going on in the gut than anything else. And that's not to negate like trauma reasons and all kinds of stuff. It's just that on some people, that's, you got to go that way first.
Yeah, I think it's helpful to address symptoms from multiple angles, and therapy can be useful to change habits, and mindfulness is great, and meditation is great for calming the mind to then be talking to the gut. But addressing the gut is also such an incredible and vital part of it. We can't look at ourselves as separate parts. We're all connected, and all these parts of ourselves are influencing the other, right?
Yes, for better or worse, everything's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are some other symptoms that you notice other than like anxiety and those more obvious bloating and constipation? Are there other things that you tend to really see when people have gut issues that maybe they don't even connect to gut issues?
That they don't connect. That's it. Yeah. Sorry. So to answer, like obviously acid reflux and like bloating and running the washroom, diarrhea, constipation, like those are the probably things that people think about when you think of gut health, and that is correct. And then the subclinical, not so obvious ones we've talked about is anxiety or fatigue can be another one, because if there's stealth infections and toxins being released just into the system, that can cause a fatigue. And then, of course, another one I see a lot of is aches and pains. So again, if those kind of toxins within quotation marks are sort of going all over the place, you can end up with, stagnant lymph, which can cause back pain and various other things for people. Excess inflammation is what it's causing, but it's going to that vulnerable place for that person. So if that person has a old hockey injury on their knee, that's where it's going to flare up when that inflammation is in excess from the gut, for example. Another one, people, a lot of women, because it's about women, is hormones. So one of the very stealth things that I see a lot of the time, there's an enzyme that the microbes can secrete called beta glucuronidase, and beta glucuronidase can mimic poor estrogen. So your body can somehow think that there's estrogen there, so it can decrease your own production. Beta glucuronidase, though, is a poor estrogen. It's like your body has put all these bags of garbage of poor estrogen out for, the stool like you would normally poo it out. But little raccoons come by and open those trash bags and let those poor estrogens back into circulation. So that it can throw someone's hormones off. So it's definitely something subclinically, and what I mean by subclinically, that person's coming to me for a gut reason. But they're also like, oh yeah, no, actually I do have a bit of an irregular period, or I have raging PMS, or I have heavy flow, or I'm spotting all the time and not actually, or having a 1 to 2 day like flow. Or I'm having trouble getting pregnant. There are all kinds of different ways that that might manifest in a patient. Again, it depends on the individuality of that person, but that can definitely be at the root of the hormone issue, where that person might say, hey, weird, my hormones are off, doc. And the doc will be like, here's birth control, or here's other band-aid hormone solution in the interim. And that's not solving the root of why that person is feeling like that.
So what are some of the main underlying issues that cause us to have less than optimal guts? Like you're talking about parasites. What else is there? Is that
Great.
one of the main ones?
One more main thing I forgot is, which is a mega part of my own story, skin as well. So
Mm.
if you think of the skin being like a continual same skin within quotation marks as the inside of your mouth, like the outside of your cheek and the inside of your mouth, it's kind of continuous, right? So that inside of your mouth goes all the way down into your gut. So if something's off in the gut, things can be off in the skin as well. So another quote unquote subclinical symptom, people are like, my skin is so congested, I have acne, I break out before my period, like whatever the case may be with their skin, it's super dry, it's super this. That's another thing that definitely gets helped when we work on the gut. And then to answer your other question, can you ask it again?
Yeah, of course. So what are some underlying or what are some of the main underlying issues that impact our gut? Like why
Right.
does it seem like
Yeah.
everybody has gut issues today?
I mean, it's exactly what you say over and over in your podcast, and what you stand on is we have to go upstream to live a non-toxic life in this world. Like our world is so bombarded with toxins, and our modern lifestyle of convenience lends itself to take down the gut so easily. So it's very easy to pick something up. Let me give you one quick, for instance. You go to the doctor, you're like, oh, I'm not feeling that great. They're like, great, here's a script for antibiotics. Like, yeah, could be viral. Maybe it's not. Go fill it and, call me and tend it, whatever. So you're like, oh, casual, cool. Okay, I'll take this script of antibiotics. The doc said I did a 7 to 10 day course. Oops, now I have gut issues, or now I have whatever. The thing is that antibiotics specifically should be reserved for very serious things, because not only are they napalming our gut as it is, meaning when you have an antibiotic, it's like lighting a forest fire, and it's non-specific. So let's say you just wanted to get the dandelion greens, or the dandelions that were weeded in your garden, and you start an entire forest fire. Yeah, you're getting those weeds. Okay, but you're also taking out every single thing with it. And as we know, once you've burned down a rainforest that may have had thousands and thousands and thousands of different species, the stuff that starts to grow after a fire is just little crappy plants, little crappy weeds, right? So that's literally how our gut is once you've taken an antibiotic. We need that diversity, that rainforest of bacteria, that, lushness, in order to thrive. And we continually do things like that, taking those types of, I'm using antibiotics as one example, but even tap water has antibiotics in it. So making sure you're filtering your water. Meats have antibiotics in it, so making sure you're really consuming high quality, grass-fed, pasture raised, like where your meat is coming from. Those are just one small example, but even all the pesticides, they do a number on our gut as well. So choosing organic where you can, which I understand is not always possible for people, but knowing the clean 15 and the dirty dozen is another big one. And then trying to divorce yourself from ultra processed foods, because when you eat ultra processed foods, you don't get that rainforest diversity through the microbes. through the microbiome, excuse me. So you're again just feeding those little crappy weeds that grew up after the antibiotics. You're not, our gut thrives on tons of different fibers, which I know protein is like the main character of the internet right now, but fiber is essential to, and prebiotic fibers and resistant starches are essential for a thriving, diverse microbiome. So when people are just focusing on their protein and they're trying to lose weight and they're hitting their protein goals and they're not hitting their fiber goals, that's another reason you're not losing the weight. So that's another thing the gut needs. When you have robust beneficial microbes, when you have sealed gut lining, then you're absorbing your nutrients properly and you're detoxing, right? Like having more bowel movements, and then you're thriving. So that's another thing we look at, microbial diversity. We look at the state of the gut lining. So is it, are you having intestinal permeability? We look at, are there stealth infections, stealth bacteria, stealth viruses? We look at if there's stealth parasites or worms. We look at H. pylori. We look at all kinds of different digestive function. We look at if there's non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And we just sort of we look if there's inflammation. And like I said, that beta glucuronidase marker, the hormone mimicking marker. So we get an overview of why that person might be feeling the way they're feeling from a functional lens. The difference of the type of stool test that I run versus what's available in our area is, which is OHIP. I mean, I'm sure people are listening from globally, but in Canada, it's a public run government healthcare system. So we only have access to certain tests through the medical doctors, whereas the functional stool test looks at evidence of something. So I give people the example, if you go into a forest and you see bear paws all over the place, OHIP would be like, well, we didn't catch the bear, so there isn't a bear here. And the functional medicine test says, there's tons of bear paws here. There must be a bear. There's evidence of a bear. Let's treat for a bear, So that's the difference of those two tests and kind of how functional medicine looks at something versus conventional medicine. And that's where a lot of women feel gaslit because they're like, I know there's a bear here. And they're like, we didn't find a bear. We didn't catch a bear. And then functional medicine's like, literally, there are bear paws. I see what you're saying. Let's treat it anyways. So that's kind of how that stool test differentiates things versus, if a parasite doesn't come out in one stool test that OHIP runs, of the 5 parasites they might be looking for, it doesn't mean there isn't one. They're very good at hiding out in the gut lining, burrowing in, especially if they've been there for a very long time. Or I'm using parasites as an example, but bacteria even, they cocoon themselves in these biofilms against the gut lining. So a cocoon, you can't get in the inside of a cocoon either, right? It's a very cocooned on that gut wall. And that cocoon is made of calcium, magnesium, iron, right? So a lot of women have iron deficiency, for example. That was my personal story as well. I had such low iron and the GP was telling me, take iron, eat iron-rich foods. Nothing was changing. Long story short, did my gut test and addressed all the stealth bacterial infections I had because I had been given antibiotics so much as a kid. And that's what boosted my iron. So that's another thing you've got to look at. Why is the iron low? Not just be like, the iron is low, therefore take an iron pill. So that's another way that stool test, or what I run as a stool test, differentiates from what they might get at the doc.
I've heard a lot about how if you have parasites, you will likely have low iron, but I never knew that it was because that they make their little home or cocoon using those nutrients. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, the biofilms are made with it, but a parasite can also sequester iron for their own living. Yeah, but the biofilm uses it as the wall, which nobody knows because nobody's asking the why, right? Which is very frustrating, and where a lot of women get frustrated because they're like, well, I don't feel myself, and the doc's like, that's not enough. Your labs are fine. You're fine. So
Yeah, disease management versus health and vitality management, right?
yes, absolutely.
So if we think maybe we have bacteria that we don't want in our gut or parasites, it sounds like doing a stool test and working with somebody like yourself would be very helpful. But is there anything that people can do before that to just make their gut more robust to, I guess, make it less likely that those things will have a good habitat in there?
Yeah, I mean, the top level things that anyone can do is what we talked about earlier is just like, do I think something's off or not, right? Like that you need to know that as baseline to even start. Then understand that the gut loves diversity. So what I said, don't eat the same thing every single day. The gut loves predictability. So don't graze all day, eat snacks, kind of be hungry, not be hungry. Don't eat breakfast this day, but not that day. Eat a super heavy dinner here. Oops, I ate dinner at 10 p.m. I can't fall asleep. The gut wants to know exactly when the food is coming because that's when it will be ready to receive that food. That's when you'll have the most digestive fire, so to speak, the most digestive enzymes ready to take that meal down. The gut also loves an empty stomach. So people don't honor that they need to actually empty their stomach, right? A Zamboni can't do its job if the players are still on the ice. So the gut is the same way. It has a sweeping mechanism that sweeps the debris down, and it needs to be doing that when the gut is empty. So people need to leave a 4 to 5 hour window between meals. And if you can't make it 4 to 5 hours between meals, you've got to take a look at what happened in the previous meal. Did I eat enough? Did I eat enough fiber? Did I eat enough protein? Did I have a good fat? Did I have? Or did you rush through your meal? Because a meal should take 20 minutes to digest from start to finish. So if you ate it in 2 minutes, well, that's why A, you're still hungry after you ate that, because it takes 20 minutes to get those signals going that you're full. And B, it could be that you didn't take that 20 minutes. So first, even before you change anything, try putting a timer on in front of you, start a recorder for 20 minutes. See, did I make it to 20 minutes? Oh, oops, I actually do only eat in 6 minutes. Okay, how can I slow myself down? Chew my food more, take smaller bites, eat with a different type of utensil. So if you normally eat with a fork, eat with a chopstick or something like that, where you're naturally going to slow yourself down. Eat with your non-dominant hand. I don't know. There's so many tips and tricks, but those are the places that I would start with if somebody was like, where do I start without having to change any foods? Where do I start? That's where you start.
Yeah, I love that it can literally just be use a chopstick rather than a fork. It can be that simple. Sometimes we complicate things and sometimes we do need like additional support, but there's so many tiny things we can do. We can take that 20 seconds before this podcast to center yourself. We can use a chopstick rather than a fork.
Exactly. Yes, you're right. Be in the right state before you eat. So, back in the day, we used to pray before meals, right? And that's actually meant to put you in the right state to receive that meal. If you're in a fight or flight state, your body's not secreting the digestive enzymes. It's sending resources to skeletal muscle to run you away from that tiger, right? So that's a very important step as well. And the other one I think that people don't think of is drinking with meals. So we often sit down, the waiter says, what would you like to drink? And your meal comes and then you're eating and drinking. But the truth is we should be drinking our water in between meals, not with our meal. Because if you drinking water with your meal not only dilutes your stomach acid and your digestive enzymes so that you don't digest well, but it also helps you eat faster because you don't need to chew that bolus of food that well because you can just take the glug of water and have it come down, right? If you leave undigested food in your stomach, then that's when bacteria can migrate to where they don't belong. And they'll digest it for us. That's where we get bloating, gas, so on and so forth. So even just changing things like your water habits, drink your water when you first wake up, drink it between your meals in those empty stomach windows to help flush things out. But don't drink it with your meal. Obviously, take a sip of water if you're thirsty when you're having your meal, but just, don't be like, oh, I need to take down this 8 ounce glass of water with my meal.
Yeah, that's a really common habit that is instilled in us, isn't it? In our
Mhm.
society.
Oh, actually, one more is alcohol. Like, I don't think women, like, there's this huge thing, oh, you're stressed, have a glass of wine at the end of the day, drink some wine, and if you are suffering from gut stuff in the interim, I would highly suggest giving yourself a, dry month or something. or decrease your amount, because a lot of people don't even realize how much it's affecting them, because again, it's such a common toxin and a well-regarded one in our society. It's like, why aren't we gonna have a cocktail later, or wine, or anything like that? And it really does not do the gut any favors. So that's the downer wet blanket one that I would suggest for everyone.
Luckily, there's lots of yummy drinks like soda water and kombucha and all those things.
Yeah.
So you talk about how like pooing is a really useful form of detox. I think detox is one of those like hot topics right now, and people don't talk about that. And it's all about sauna and all these other more like glamorous things than just like using the toilet. What else can we do to support our detox other than like improving our gut so we eliminate better? Is our saunas really important for this? Or yeah, are there any things that you suggest people focus on?
Sure. I mean, I run a clean gut detox program where I teach people all of these things. And that's been what I do is I took all the most powerful strategies from everything I teach about, like you asked if we don't want to invest in a stool test yet or do that. That's my like foot in the door program where I teach people all of this stuff. And anyways, I'm just putting that there so people know that I could go on about this. Like this podcast would be hours long, but that's all there if people want to join it. But I'm happy to just to put it in context. Detox is our cells need fuel in and they need garbage out. And that's just the basic way of living and optimal living is get the good stuff in the cell, get the trash out. So what are the ways our body gets rid of things? Well, we talked about poop. We talked and then obviously urine and sweat and bile, which is a part of that detox digestive system. And then of course, also our exhales, right? That's like we're getting something out of our body. So sweating, to your point about sauna, is a very important part. And I actually learned this the other day and my mind just exploded. And I think maybe I'd learned it before, but compartmental, like I didn't listen because I was like, that's crazy. People are getting Botox in their armpits so that they don't sweat, so they don't put sweat stains on their shirts. I'm like, oh my goodness. And then they're like trying to do a juice cleanse to detox. I'm like, no, like you need to sweat and you want to sweat. And that's one of the main ways we get things out of our bodies. You need those channels to be open. And so one of the biggest game changers for me, and if you follow me on Instagram, I say this all the time, and I have my favorite one linked, and I only do that because infrared sauna changed the game for me. And I do it easily in a sauna blanket. If you don't have access to a proper infrared sauna, I use my infrared sauna blanket. I use it through the winter and the colder months, like religiously every time I'm going to wash my hair, because I can't be bothered to sweat on days when I'm not going to be blow drying my hair, but that's how I use it. And it really helps move things in the body because heavy metals and toxins and other things are stored just underneath the skin. And the infrared actually pulls those things out that we necessarily wouldn't pull into our system to get it out of the body. It's just sitting there. And that is really powerful for getting those stored toxins out. So yes, infrared saunaing, like sweating, I'm a huge advocate for that. And then obviously all the other things that we've talked about. And if they want way more detail, come join me in Clean Gut Detox, because I can nerd out about all of this all day long and give you the practical strategies to help it. Because like I said, I live it, I lived it. I do Clean Gut Detox along with my group every single time. And it makes me healthier within quotation marks in the times when I'm not doing it, because that's a 21-day program. And I'm reminded of all the things and lifestyle things that I need to be doing in those 21 days because I follow it. And then every single time I do it, a new habit will come with me and I take it into those non-21 days, I've really started being so whole foods based, like more and more and more and more and more every time I've done it. So it's a whole foods based program. There's no juicing, cleansing, like there's nothing like that. That's why it's sustainable and relatable to the rest of your life. I make delicious recipes and you're like, wait, that recipe's delicious. To this day, some people, I've been doing this program for, I don't know, 7-8 years. And to this day, people are like, my kids love that, curry that's in your Clean Gut Detox program. I still make it to this day. So detoxing doesn't also have to be dieting or restrictive or non-delicious. And that's not where I live. I need things to be delicious too. So yeah, clean gut detox is, the recipes and the foods and then the strategies and the biohacks and different things to help detoxify, because that in essence helps the gut thrive as well.
So do you recommend that people do like focus on detox before they focus on specifically addressing gut health, or
Very
can you do
good
one and then the
question.
other?
And if you rewind to the start of this podcast, if everyone listening, you can access all these changes from whatever avenue you're ready to participate in. And that is the most accessible thing that you need to drill into your brain, because people think, oh, I have to do it this way, or this is the thing that's going to start me. Whatever, the body is connected for better or worse. Moving your body more, and let's say after your meals, like go for a walk after your meals, you're incorporating movement, but you just helped your blood sugar regulate. You just helped yourself digest. So those aren't things that you can decipher out, right? So maybe you want to incorporate the movement practice and you didn't actually change what you're eating. Okay, then start there. There are so many different avenues that you can take to improve gut health. It doesn't have to look like one way. And that's in Clean Gut Detox. I'm giving you all those varied strategies so you can pick and choose the ones that resonate with you for that moment. And I have alumni who keep repeating the program because for that exact same reason that I said. And I'm continually updating, obviously, the information and the things that I'm doing and how I'm living and what I share with people. But don't let anyone fool you into thinking that there's one way to detox. There's one way to heal the gut. You have to take this supplement. This is the holy grail. It's not. It's every single thing. Like, honestly, immerse yourself in nature every single day. That'll do wonders for your nervous system. That'll do wonders for your mindset, which will then, again, that bidirectional gut-brain axis, that will help the gut too. So there's no one way. Whatever will help is whatever consistently you can put into your day to day.
That's really liberating to hear because I think with the internet age and social media, the things that get attention are saying this is the one thing, but that isn't reality in our lives, is that everything is connected. So I really appreciate you making that point.
Yeah, it's fake news. And like you said, our DNA is living in the past. Like, it's from the past. And in the past, what did we do? Walk barefoot. We were in the earth. We were in nature, like raising babies, making sourdough, like it was a different life, right? And so now rushing around with Wonder Bread, trying to chase the kids to their activities and like doing your car, and you're a working mom and you've got 4,000 hats to wear, and, is the house clean? And there's a million different things going on at any given time. It's really about just finding those things that work for you and your family, but that are representative of what our DNA likes, to include them in your day.
And how do you do that? You are a mom, you are a wife, you have an incredible business, you see clients, you run things in person and online. You do a lot. How do you find that you help yourself through that process of living so, I don't want to say you live misaligned to your DNA, but we all kind of do in the modern world. So is it
I
just,
Here's my secret. I get everyone around me obsessed with the same lifestyle. So people often say to me, oh, I tell my mom to, she needs to eat better. I tell my mom that she shouldn't have taken that med and that she should be, walking more. And just show people, if you're 100% passionate, like, yes, when I started this business, like, 15 years ago, when I started functional medicine, and I was like, oh, I'm telling my parents, I'm like, you guys should blah, blah, blah. And then slowly I just started living it for myself and doing all of this stuff. And now they have adopted so many things that I do because I've consistently demonstrated that. So when I go to a family dinner, they know, how I eat or how I like whatever. So they're now eating healthier. And when I go to family dinners, it's not like, oh, I have to make this for you. It's like, we've all made this for everyone, So live the life that you authentically want to live, and then get others on board. I swear, every girl that's come to work here for me has had a certain, nutrition or whatever. And then they come, they see all the lunches the rest of us are eating and this and that. And it slowly permeates, right? And it's not that you're saying, hey, we eat like this or we do that. They're like, oh, that looks really yummy. What is it? Right? Or, oh, it's really sunny out. We're going to go for a walk and we're not going to like finish this project here. No, like, there's just different. You just want to get everybody on board with what you're doing. And to your point, I don't live a perfect life. Like I'm like, doing my best like everyone else. And that's all you can do. You also don't want any shame or guilt around what you are doing. But when you bring in habits and stuff, only pick the ones that you're obsessed with, and then the people around you will become obsessed with it too, or they'll see you doing it, or there'll be a curiosity. And that's the best way to get other people involved. And then when they're involved, that's motivating to you too, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. And be obsessed with it and show them by example. And I I follow you on Instagram and the Movement Boutique, and it just seems like such a fun place to work. And everybody there does seem like their health just is getting better and better because of who they're surrounding themselves with. And you're such a key part of that. And we really are influenced by those around us, right? The people we work with, by our family members, by our friends. So we can influence them too, can't we?
100%.
So, is there anything that you wanted me to ask or anything you wanted to say about gut health that we didn't cover here? Obviously, you know a million other things other than what we talked about. We only talked about a few things, but was there anything that you think is really important that we didn't mention?
I think you really covered a lot of bases. I think that, just tying it back to what we said at the start, like, I've made my clinic accessible to get at, to start wherever you're at. So even if you want the acupuncture needles to help your gut to start moving, or we do fascial release around that area, getting the gut moving and stuff like that, or helping your back pain or whatever it is. So you can start anywhere. And yeah, that's my main, I hope people take that away. And the other thing I would say, just because your audience is all moms, when people speak about children and their guts or their taste preferences, or they're a picky eater, or they're a grazer, or they're snacking all the time, or they're asking me for this and that, I promise you, now my son's only 2, but I promise you, it's the same premise as us. It's if they're hungry, are they really thirsty? Do they want water? Like, are they actually just feeling emotional and they need to like work through some emotions? Is it that they didn't eat a proper and full breakfast? Is it that, that wasn't the right mix of things for them? Like, it's all the questions we need to ask. Are we feeding them diverse enough things to feed and nourish their guts and consequently their brains, because the gut brain axis is our own as a mother, and not to add guilt to moms, but is our own stuff portraying onto them. So when I started feeding my son, yeah, there were certain things he didn't like, and I just kept giving and giving, and now he eats everything. And it the first time I can see why I'd be like, oh, he doesn't like sweet potatoes. But it's just in that moment, maybe he was feeling fussy, he was tired, he wasn't that hungry, it wasn't that he didn't like a sweet potato, but we extrapolate what we're feeling onto why they didn't interact with something. And then of course the other side of you is like, I friggin' made this, I'm not going to make it up another time and you're going to waste it. So there's that practical side of us as well. But if the mom or the parents or whatever are feeling vital in themselves and understand their own eating patterns, pooping patterns, like what's healthiest for them, I promise you it will reflect to your child as well. Like that will improve your child's eating habits and gut health and brain health when you work on yours.
Yeah, a lot of the work I do with mothers is to support themselves and to support their kids with picky eating and emotional challenges. And the hardest part is convincing moms to prioritize themselves. But by doing that and doing everything you just said, it makes the parenting easier. It makes the feeding the kids easier. So it's not just this, oh, take care of yourself as well. It's really important. It is the foundation.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
So before I let you go, can you tell us a little bit about how people can work with you and your clinic online and in person?
Yeah, so online, like I said, I'm about to run my Clean Gut Detox program at the end of April, April 22nd, we start. So if anybody wants to join on there, you can follow us at the Movement Boutique. You can follow me at Dr. Shalini Bhat. And you can check out our website where we have the links to Clean Gut Detox to join, or any of those Instagram links, because there's 400 ways to find people these days. And then if you want to come to us in person, we're in Toronto, we're in the Summerhill, Yonge and Summerhill area. And like I said, we do treatments with acupuncture and fascial release from anything from body aches and pains to C-section scars to bloating and gut things. We have a Pilates, gorgeous reformer Pilates studio drenched in natural light. And we run functional medicine labs and testing, all from the US, and we work with people virtually for functional medicine as well. So yeah, check our website, come visit us on Instagram. We would love to see you and work with you.
And with the functional medicine work, since it's virtual, can people be anywhere in the world, or is that just in Canada and the States?
That's a great question. We don't really have a global audience, but yeah, I guess I mean the US and Canada. Yeah, currently. Just because the labs are available there. I've never really looked into if they're available other places, but yeah, predominantly North America.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your time and everything that you're doing to make healthy normal in our world. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for all the work you're doing by spreading this message to all the moms and women, because that's awesome. And we all need to hear and encouraging, how to help our family. So yeah, thanks for having me.